Hello fellow duelists and collectors. Today I'm going to be showing you my cheap budget basic extra cards Lightsworn deck. Like the other Blackwing deck I just posted. This deck is just, like I said, spare cards that I had that I built a deck out of because there was a time when I collected Lightsworns very heavily. And over the years I've collected enough to create like 3 full Lightsworn decks. So I'll just get right into it. First, since there is a lack of Judgment Dragon and, sadly, Wolf, 2 Light Ray Diablos. So, like Judgment, you need to have, in this case, 5 different named light monsters in your grave, but that's usually achievable with this. But its effect lets you banish a light from your grave to return one of your opponent's set cards to the top or bottom of their deck, so that can be a really good strategy against your opponent. Now, Light Ray Daedalus, the reason there's 3 of him but only 2 Diablos is because he's easier to summon, he's mainly there just for the attack power, and you could use his effect to destroy your Realm of Light card, okay, to add 2 other cards, to destroy 2 other cards in the field, that's right, okay. So, he has a decent effect, but more so you use him for a beat stick than anything, and he's easier to summon. And it doesn't need to be different names for him. You just need 4 light monsters, so that's good. Celestia to tribute, destroy 2 opponents' monsters, so that's pretty good. And then it sends 2 Graganith, which basically he's just there to have a strong Lightsworn with real attack potential. And then for Garroth, like I said in a previous video, 3 is what I recommend because he's easy to get. He lets you draw a card each time a Lightsworn is discarded from another card effect, or his card effect rather, and he just has a lot of potential, and he's got 1850 attack, so that's generally good. I would highly recommend him for especially a basic deck like this to be played. 2 Jane, because mainly he just helps you with attack, and he's another different named light monster for this sake of this. 3 Lila, and as you noticed, I don't have 3 Wolves for this because Wolf is harder to get and I'm not going to spend money on that. But 3 Lila because you really want to control your opponent's back row, and she also sends 3 and she's a 4-star monster, so it's good all around. 1 Aaron, just because you never know what you might need to face with your opponent if they have a defense position monster that you could return to their deck. That's always good to have, and she's a different named light monster, so that's good. Violon Prism because it's mainly because if it's sent to the grave, you get to pay 500 to add it as an equip card to bring 1,000 attack points to one of your monsters. But if you have an extra deck for this, it's good to have as a tuner. So, good card to have. Arcus because for the variety, as again, and also his effect, sorry, one sec. Yeah, targeted. Lightsworns can't be targeted by effect, so that's pretty good. And then we have 3 Lumina, which should be standard in almost any Lightsworn because it brings back any Lightsworn from the grave, so that's good to have. We have 1 Minerva because she has a really good effect, she's sent to the grave, send another one, and also she is a tuner if you use an extra deck, and she's just a decent Lightsworn to have in the deck. Shire because since there's so much variety of Lightsworns in here, her attack can spike way up, so that can be really good to use, or she's a throwaway, Card Trooper just because it mills cards for you and you get to draw a card with its effect upon its destruction, so that's good. Raikou, just again for the variety, but also because destroying your opponent's card can be very beneficial. Now for the spells, we have 3 Lightsworn Sanctuary. Now this card's really good for the exchange aspect of the card with the graveyard. You send a Lightsworn from your hand, get one from back. And then also it adds the shine counters which protect your monsters. So like, each time a Lightsworn effect activates, it gets a shrine counter. If you have multiple Lightsworns on the field, it'll get at least 2 per turn, which having 2 is the basic minimum of applying its protection effect. So it's definitely a good card to have for second-rate Lightsworn decks. 3 Charge of the Light Brigade because it is unlimited and it is a great card to use, and having the search power along with milling is always good to have. And if you have 3 solar recharges, you should run those as well. 2 Realm of Light, as I explained earlier with Light Ray Daedalus, but also because, it does the shine counters too, right? It also holds shine counters for you. And also, your Lightsworns gain attack for 100 for each shine counter. So that's definitely a good effect to have. Lightsworn Saber is just basically to add more attack power, which isn't really necessary, but it's decent to have. And also if it gets milled, you get to use it, so that's not bad. Iron Core of Kawaki Miro. Now, this is actually very specifically in here, and I'm not sure because I have to triple check the rulings, but if you're about to run out of cards, which is a common case in this deck, having this in the grave can substitute your draw phase, meaning that you won't run out of cards to draw. So you won't lose by deck out. So I think it's definitely a worthwhile card to have. And again, you want to check the rules to make sure that it's legal, but it's definitely a good precautionary measure for Lightsworns. 3 breakthrough skill because it can negate an opponent's effect and it can negate one from the grave. So even if it's sent there by a Lightsworn effect, it's still usable. So that's definitely a good card to have as far as traps go for Lightsworns. Glorious Illusion, kind of a filler card. You know, I'm pretty sure it's the like Call of the Hunted for Lightsworns. Yeah, and it also sends the top 2, so that's not bad. But it's just basically in there to be in there. Beckoning Light, however, is a very good card for Lightsworns. Lets you send your whole hand to the grave and then add the same number of light monsters back to your hand, so it lets you pick and choose through your graveyard, which is always good for Lightsworns. Sorry. And then Compulsory Evacuation Device is the final card of the deck. It's just a basic staple that hinders your opponent. And I don't have an extra deck for this deck because it's primarily, you know, spare cards, and I don't have a lot of spare extra decks, so it also does well without it. You don't truly need it with this kind of deck. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, please give me a like. And if you want to see more like this, please subscribe. Thank you.